Forget everything you think you know about business. For years, Amazon was a company that, by every traditional metric, should have been a colossal failure. They intentionally lost money, paid no attention to their competition, and poured billions into ventures that sounded like science fiction. While everyone else was playing by the book, Amazon was busy rewriting it, and that is the secret to how they won. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the unwritten rules of business that Amazon systematically shattered to build its empire. The first and most sacred rule of business is simple. You have to make money. A company that isn't profitable is a failure. It's the first thing they teach you. Yet for the better part of a decade, Amazon treated this rule as if it didn't exist. While every other company was desperately trying to turn a profit, Jeff Bezos was doing the exact opposite. This was never more obvious than during the dot-com bust. The tech bubble had burst, and investors were sprinting away from any internet company that wasn't making money. Wall Street was in a panic, and companies were collapsing left and right. Amazon's own stock cratered, plummeting from its peak by over 90%. By every conventional measure, they were on the verge of collapse. But Bezos didn't even flinch. Instead of cutting costs to show a profit, he doubled down on growth, using a brilliant and rule-breaking financial strategy, the cash conversion cycle. In simple terms, Amazon figured out how to use its customers' money to fund its own expansion. When you bought a book from Amazon, they got your cash instantly, but they didn't have to pay their suppliers, the book publishers, for 30, 60, or even 90 days. This time Gap created a constant, revolving pool of cash. Amazon used this money to build more warehouses, expand into new categories, and drop prices even lower. They were essentially getting an interest-free loan from their own suppliers and using it to grow at a terrifying pace. While their competitors were forced to pull back, Amazon was reinvesting every dollar into the business. They weren't just surviving the dot-com crash, they were using it to get bigger. This relentless focus on growth over profit built an empire while everyone else was just trying to keep the lights on. It was the first and maybe the most important rule they broke. The next rule Amazon shattered was the idea of fair pricing. In a normal market, you price your products to cover costs and make a reasonable profit. Competing on price is one thing, but intentionally selling products at a loss to drive out competitors, a strategy that has drawn accusations of predatory pricing, is a dangerous game that regulators watch closely. Amazon didn't just play this game, they perfected it. From its earliest days, Amazon didn't win by being better. It won by being cheaper than anyone else could possibly survive. It started with books. Amazon sold bestsellers at prices so low they were often losing money on each sale. This brought in a flood of customers, but it absolutely devastated traditional booksellers, who just couldn't compete with a company that wasn't even trying to make a profit on its main products. But they didn't stop there. This strategy was rolled out in one category after another. When Amazon targeted the toy market, it sparked a brutal price war that was a major factor in the eventual bankruptcy of giants like Toys R Us. They did the same with electronics, home goods, and eventually groceries. Their tactics have been called notoriously aggressive. Critics and analysts have described how Amazon's marketplace could create brutal competition. Brands found themselves in an impossible position: either play by Amazon's rules or risk watching their own products get undercut by a sea of third-party sellers. This strategy, while attracting intense scrutiny and antitrust allegations, was brutally effective. It funneled massive market share directly into Amazon's ecosystem, building a dominance that no rational competitor could ever match. Go to any business school and they'll drill into you the importance of competitive analysis. You're taught to obsess over what your rivals are doing and react to their every move. Amazon tossed that entire playbook in the trash. Jeff Bezos famously said that leaders should be watching the customer, not the competition. While competitors were watching each other, Amazon was watching you. And this wasn't just some catchy slogan, it was the company's guiding light. The most legendary example of this customer obsession is Amazon Prime. In 2005, Amazon launched a service that seemed like financial suicide: unlimited 2-day shipping for a flat annual fee. Internally, executives knew it would cost a fortune. There was no way the fee would cover the actual shipping costs for frequent shoppers. But Bezos had a different vision. He knew the biggest pain point in online shopping was seeing that shipping cost pop up at checkout. By eliminating that friction, he believed he was creating a golden handcuff, a loyalty program so valuable that customers wouldn't even think of shopping anywhere else. He was right. By 2016, estimates put the number of Prime members between 54 and 69 million worldwide, and those members were spending, on average, more than double what non-Prime customers spent. This customer-first approach drove every major innovation, from introducing user reviews, which publishers hated at first, to developing the Kindle, which made buying a book completely frictionless. While other companies were reacting to each other's press releases, Amazon was building an ecosystem so convenient that customers simply had no reason to leave. The conventional wisdom in business is to find your niche. Do one thing and do it well. But Amazon didn't want to just dominate one industry. It planned to invade all of them. Amazon was founded on July 5, 1994, as Kadabra, an online bookstore. The website went live in 1995, and that was just the beachhead. Soon they expanded into music and DVDs, then electronics, then tools, toys, and kitchenware. They blew past the stay in your lane rule at every single turn. In 2007, they revolutionized reading itself with the Kindle, not just selling books, but controlling the entire ecosystem. Around that same time, a side project born from their own tech needs was quietly becoming a monster: Amazon Web Services, or AWS. Initially launched in 2002 with a broader set of services following in 2006, it would soon become the world's leading cloud computing platform. They had invaded and dominated a completely unrelated industry, and the invasions just kept coming. In 2017, Amazon sent shockwaves through the grocery world by acquiring Whole Foods for $13.7 billion. Suddenly, giants like Walmart and Kroger were scrambling. Amazon's strategy became clear: constantly scan the horizon for industries ripe for disruption and then move in. This refusal to be defined by a single market allowed them to grow relentlessly, planting their flag in territory after territory. The final rule Amazon broke is the most counterintuitive of all. Every business tries to be lean. You keep expenses down and don't spend money on things that don't generate an immediate return. But for Amazon, the very things that made it so expensive became the reason it won. Take fulfillment. In the early 2000s, building and running a nationwide network of massive warehouses was seen as a huge, costly liability. But Amazon poured billions into its logistics infrastructure. They knew that controlling the entire journey from warehouse shelf to your doorstep was the only way to make promises like 2-day shipping a reality. This massive expense became an impenetrable moat, creating a barrier to entry so high that almost no one could compete on delivery speed and reliability. But the ultimate example is Amazon Web Services. In the beginning, the enormous cost of building and maintaining servers to run Amazon.com was just a giant operating expense. It was a cost center. But instead of just trying to shrink that cost, a few engineers had a radical idea. What if we turn our biggest expense into a product? What if we rent out our server capacity to other companies? This decision transformed Amazon's biggest cost into its biggest weapon. AWS took off and quickly became the company's main profit engine. In the first quarter of 2016, AWS generated $604 million in operating income, which was more than Amazon's entire North American retail business. For the full year, AWS profits effectively subsidized the aggressive pricing and free shipping that was crushing their retail competition. Amazon had broken the final rule. They didn't just cut their costs, they turned their biggest cost into their most powerful weapon. So there you have it. 5 sacred rules of business that Amazon threw right out the window. They chose growth over profits. They used aggressive pricing to corner the market. They obsessed over customers, not competitors. They refused to stay in one lane. And they turned their biggest expenses into their most dominant advantages. Amazon's story isn't just about a company that got big. It's about a company that won by playing a completely different game, with a set of rules nobody else even saw until it was far too late. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the companies shaping our world.